The other approach, and this is more for retail concepts rather than individual stores, is the idea of a retail life cycle, and that just simply suggests that retail concepts go through, just like the product life cycle, they go through a cycle where they have early growth, where there's a new hot trend in retailing, and then a growth phase, and then everything kind of stabilizes, and eventually they decline. Anybody been to the outlet mall in Petaluma? There's one of those factory outlet malls. That was a retail concept that many years ago, it started out with some of the clothing factories in North Carolina that were getting rid of factory seconds out the back door of the factory, and people realized that I could get really good bargains for factory seconds, which nobody even notices that you're missing a leg, and they were becoming attractive, so they decided to open a outlet store, and let's just take advantage of that. And then they started opening more outlet stores, and other factories realized that, hey, this is a great way for us to get rid of some of our distressed merchandise, and so we started to get groups of these outlet stores together, and then some manufacturers started manufacturing seconds for the outlet market, and we had this huge boom of outlet malls, and they were all over the place, and you could take bus tours to the outlet malls, and they would have restaurants, and you'd spend the day. And today we're kind of in the decline stage. There's still some outlet malls, and if you ever go to them, maybe half of the stores are kind of empty. But for some people, it's still a place to go. So the idea was the factory outlet malls have gone through the life cycle, and we're moving into something new, something next. From what I've heard, the hot retail concept right now is mixed-use development, where rather than having a standalone mall or a standalone retail area, I have a complex that includes residential, office space, and retail space, and the idea is that having the residential and the office space provides a baseline market for the retailers in the operation, and then the quality of the retailers invites other people to come in, which adds to the value of the residential area, and it makes it convenient for businesses to locate in that center. I've seen those in a couple of places. Interestingly enough, I was in Eugene, Oregon, and we were driving down the road, and there was like one regional mall that was clearly going out of business, and right next to it was this really nice new retail development with hotels and apartments and restaurants and retail shops and office spaces. So it was just kind of a nice juxtaposition to see out with the old, in with the new. So things that drive retail evolution: demographics. As people get older, their tastes change, their needs change. I read the other day, and I am just sad as all heck to hear that baby boomers are no longer the most important market in the country, but it's the millennials. You losers. There's more of you, you're spending your money, and now everybody wants to sell to you. Nobody wants to sell to me anymore. Boo-hoo-hoo. So much for large type menus in restaurants. Another issue is technology, where we talked about in distribution. Much of what happens in distribution is just information, and technology can disrupt that. There's a term that we'll talk about at the end of the semester called marketing myopia, which is a phenomenon where businesses focus so intently on what their business is that they lose sight of the forest for the trees. So for example, the railroad industry focused, when we started getting the interstate transportation system and airline travel started taking off, the railroad industry said, we're the railroad industry. That's what we do. And they ignored what was happening with air. And so 50 years ago, most people going from point A to point B would take the train. Today, most people going from point A to point B will take the plane, and so the railroads kind of lost out on that passenger traffic because they didn't say, we're in the personal transportation business. The same thing with retailers as technology changes, rather than saying that we're not Amazon, this internet is not for us. We're finding retailers embracing the new technology and trying to build it into their business model rather than ignoring it. So now when you go to a Best Buy, you can search on your smartphone to find where things are in the store, and if it's not in the store, you go to the kiosk in the middle of the store that tells you whether it's available online, but just blending all of those together to provide the best customer experience. And then globalization, just we get retail concepts that are start in one part of the world and get transferred to another part of the world.